deliberation, that's in a deliberate effort to cushion the difficult economic season. The federal government has released thousands of bags of rice to Rivers State. And in response, the Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has expressed gratitude to President Bola Tinubu for donating the food items to the state, saying it would go a long way in addressing poverty and hunger, especially in rural areas. Governor Fubara stated this upon the receipt of donation of 21,650 bags of grains from President Bola Tinubu's led federal government. The food items consisting of 3,680 bags of gari, 17,970 bags of corn, and part of the Presidential Food Palliative Initiative to cushion the effect of hunger and the economic hardship faced by many families across Nigeria. Now, speaking through the Secretary to the State Government, Dr. Tami Wenke Danagogo, during the River State Government and NEWA joint flag of the federal government grain distribution in Port Harcourt on Wednesday, Fubara revealed that local organizing committees headed by the caretaker committee chairman of every local government has already been set up and will distribute the food items to the most vulnerable people in every nook and cranny of the state. On different occasions, you have been on this show, Ambassador Okie, and you have called for the federal government to carry out emergency measures to cushion the effect of the hunger in the land and the high prices, especially of food products. And now the federal government has made this move, distributed food items across Nigeria, not just the River State now. But then this story is talking about River State receiving has, and then the government telling us how the measures that are on ground to make sure that it is duly distributed to the vulnerable people. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, gratitude is a good thing. We want to thank Mr. President. This is not the first time that he's distributing food as a relief material for Nigerians. I'm aware sometimes in December, January, he equally did the same, and we thank him very much. But I would like to encourage that, first of all, the population of Rivers State is beyond 5 million. And if you give 21,000 plus, even if you give 30,000 bags of rice, indirectly you are saying that a minority of Rivers people should have that rice for now. And I do not really know if the rice and the corn, maybe the corn is for plantation or maybe for what we call pap, akamu, which is a good food also, maybe for the little children whose parents cannot afford the baby food for them, the naan. I think is a commendable one. But like I said, the number of it is very, very small. And I do not really know if the federal government actually bought this product, because a bag of rice now is about 75 to 80,000 naira. So if you give a family who have no source of survival a bag of rice, they have to sell parts to enable them not have malnutrition. So, but if you have given them that cash of 80,000 naira to a family, at least they will be able to balance their diet to a reasonable extent and then help one or two needs around them. So the issue of cash disbursement is still very much better to a reasonable extent. But that doesn't mean that we do not commend the good gesture of Mr. President. What we are always saying is that you should improve and do more. Now, the governor, through the secretary to government, have said that committees has been set up to evenly distribute these materials, these resources, these food items to the common people at the grassroots. I would like to appeal, first of all, that this distribution should not be made on political consideration, on party line. or on factional line, because we are aware there is relatively factionization in Rivers State. And even when there was even no faction, that they have one party as PDP. Most times when materials comes, people feel that, oh, it should be for PDP members and PDP stakeholders. The ward chairman will compile lists, they give to them, and then the stakeholders of the party. Then if it's for APC, APC will say, oh, it's for their party members.
Let's look at the way he has said the distribution will take place now, and the fact that he has talked about the different local government areas in the state.
The local government council chairmen are members of a political family. So that's what we are saying. So it has never changed before. So all we are saying is that it should not be that way. Like the last time that they did, I'm aware, they gave to different groups too. Like the ones they gave to Christian Association of Nigeria, and they gave to some frontline main churches that have, widespread. And I'm sure that it helped. It was not politicized, because the ones given to religious leaders and religious organizations, even to the Islamic organizations, they made sure that members of their churches have access to it. So it's not a question of you are not a member of APC, PDP, RUPC, and all of that. So I want to encourage the state government to ensure that it should not just be distributed among political line. It should be given to religious families, religious organizations, the Muslims, the Christians. It should be given to traditional rulers who have access to the common people. And then my appeal is that when you are being given, if you can afford rice, there is no need for you to keep in your house. For instance, if you give me a bag of rice, I don't need to keep it. I have to use it and share among the people that I know cannot afford, that we used to assist when we have. So I like us to be very caring. I know the last time they distributed, I have access to a few bags of it. And the little one I have, at least I spread it. The president gave, the governor also gave. December, January, that's within that period.
But let's look at what is going on in Nigeria. Do you see this as part of the emergency measures that are really needed right now? Some people see it as a waste of resources, while other people see it, like you have said, as commendable. But do you think, looking at the situation, the economic situation, and what the people are going through right now, do you think this is what is really needed at the moment? Is this the emergency measure that Nigerians need at the moment?
Well, economically, it's not the best, but having a breakfast on your table is still commendable.
And then by 12 p.m., it's off your stomach.
Good. So that's why I said for economic recovery and restoration, it's not very much the best, because you need to give a man a net to go and fish for himself.
So what would have been the best?
The best, like I always advocate, is resources, cash. If you give Nigerians little money, even like the POS, it doesn't take more than 100,000 to start a POS business. So we need something that will enable Nigerians to have, a way of fending for themselves. Of a truth, we're having food shortages. And the reason for these food shortages is insecurity. So how long? You can see that you cannot even feed Nigerians. You can't even feed Rivers people alone. How many local government? That 21,000 is almost like Obi Akpo alone. By political calculation, it's even lesser. So you can discover that by this economic intervention, if it is, it can't even feed one local government in Rivers State. So for the economists who would say that it's a waste of resources, it is. But for social reasons, we can say no. At least it can feed.
Where are you now, Ambassador Ekie? You are an economist and you're also being a socialist.
I'm trying to be in between so that they will not deny me the rights, so that to enable me give
your share. I thought you were talking for development.
No, if they give to me.
I thought you were the voice of the people.
No, what I'm saying is that yes, I am.
Okay, now you're fighting for your own bag of rice.
No, if they give to me, I will give to people around me. Like I said, You know, so I'm not saying
but
it
even
is...
if it was cash, let's assume it was money that was being, what is the guarantee that Nigerians and the vulnerable people that are targeted will actually get the exact amounts that the president has released to them?
You see, we will not want to raise a conclusion when the action has not been taking place. Now, let the resources be given out first of all, and then let us now see whether...
Before you take an action, especially as a leader, you definitely would have had to look at the pros and the cons, this side of it and the other side, had the conversation with your people, and then measures will be drafted in which those monies or whatever it is will be allocated to make sure that it gets to the targets. That is exactly the reason the governor has come out to tell us what is on ground and the ways in which they expect for these things to be distributed, so that Nigerians will understand that. So they don't just go out there and share money first before you start thinking of how to get to the vulnerable.
For me, like I said, the last distribution, in all fairness, I commend the governor. Because
the last distribution?
The last distribution.
It got to everybody, or because it got to you?
Because at least it got to a very reasonable extent. And that was much more than this number. You know, so my appeal is that it should be evenly distributed. And for those of us who can afford, that's my plea, because those who can afford rice in Rivers State to a reasonable extent are in a good numbers. But the truth is that the people who will have access to this rice are those who can afford this rice. So that's why I'm appealing that those of us who can afford these resources, when you get it, the common man who cannot have access to these government provisions should now be reached out to the way we do, so that the common man, which is the intention...
Yeah, we get that point now. Back to what we were talking about, where you said the money distribution would have been better than foodstuff distribution.
Yes.
And I asked the question, what is the guarantee that these monies will actually get to the vulnerable?
If the rice will get to the vulnerable, the money will get to the vulnerable.
So you don't think that different measures should be taken? Remember, rice is not money.
No.
The approach might not be the same.
So this is not the first time that government have even done a cash transfer to Nigerians or Rivers people.
Individual accounts.
Yes, there are measures. So most times there is a collation of lists with bank accounts, and then they begin to arrange how the disbursement will be made. So I know that
we would have less corruption in that practice than actually sharing foodstuff.
The corruption is not even the issue, because the people will get the resources. I can tell you for free. In Rivers State, our previous governments, have tried that. Even starting from the Rotimi Amaechi's administration, our former governor, Nyesom Wike, they also did the kind of cash disbursements to some citizens of Rivers State. So I think...
Okay, so but if we look at the cash disbursements, like you've called it, and then the food products distribution now, if you're going to send cash, that's money, to individuals in Nigeria, and you're going to buy food products, there is a probability that you spend more when you're going to be spending or sending cash or distributing cash.
No, what we are
looking at the current state of the economy, can we afford to do that right now?
Very well. Why we are talking about the cash is because a bag of rice, like I said, is about 80,000, 85. If you give a family 85,000 naira, but if you add up with the maize, the corn, maybe like 100,000 naira, that period of a few weeks or 1 week, depending on the size of the family, they can have good nutrition.
We don't even know how the distribution is going to be, and someone was talking about
a cup.
Someone was talking about cups.
No, of a truth, like I said, not all Rivers people will get it, because
it's not for all Rivers people.
Yes, the population is quite...
It's not even for all Rivers people.
It's for
the vulnerable,
the poorest of the poor. So that's why I said...
How do they usually identify the poorest of the poor?
We know.
These are questions that some Nigerians ask when they see
identifying them. That's why I said institutions that have grassroots base, like religious organizations. The churches they know those who don't have jobs, those who are struggling to survive, the widows, the orphans, they have access to them. the traditional rulers also know in their communities. You know, so that's why we are saying that while you do the political share and consideration, ensure that the traditional institution, the religious institution, also have access to it. So it will get to the...
All right.